Sometimes you wake, but you're not sure if you even slept. Your body moves, your day begins, but you are no longer there. You're not sad, but not joyful either. There's no fear, yet no peace. Just a quiet void where something used to live. Like a spectator in your own life, you do what must be done, say what must be said, smile when you're expected to, but nothing stirs within. You see a sunrise and feel nothing. You hear music that once moved you to tears, and it remains silent inside you. It's not the loud despair that devours you. It's the quiet nothing, wrapping itself around your soul like fog. A numbness within. And then the fear. What if there really is nothing left in me? What if I am already dead inside, while my body still breathes? Søren Kierkegaard would have known this state well. A Danish philosopher of the 19th century. Not a system builder, not a cold theoretician, but a man who wrestled with the very darkness of the heart. He wrote of anxiety, of despair, of what it means to be alive, and yet to have lost oneself. He might have said, "This is not the end. This is the beginning of a despair you've merely silenced until now." What is despair? To Kierkegaard, it is not merely a feeling. It is a condition of the soul. Not everyone who cries is in despair, and not everyone who seems calm is free. The most dangerous kind of despair is the one that stays quiet, the one that hides, the kind that lets you function, even as you fall apart within, the kind you no longer notice because you've grown used to it. The deepest form of despair is not knowing that one is in despair. So wrote Kierkegaard. It sounds absurd, but he meant this. To live a life that does not reflect your true self is to live a lie. And that lie eats you from the inside, slowly, silently, until no feeling can break through. You laugh when it's expected. You work because it's required. You adapt, day after day. And one day, you lose the connection to who you truly are. This despair, Kierkegaard says, is like a shadow falling over the self. It does not kill you. It lets you go on living, but not as yourself. You are alive, but inwardly silenced. We live in an age of constant impulses. You wake, and the first thing you see is a screen. Faces rush at you. News, voices, opinions, a clip to make you laugh, followed by a tragedy. Success stories, suffering. Advertisements, alerts, alarms. It all blurs together, and you breathe it in, like a current that never stops. And your nervous system, it screams, quietly, because it no longer knows what matters, what is true, what belongs to me. Kierkegaard never knew this kind of overstimulation, but he would have understood it. Even then, he wrote, The age of reflection kills passion. Today, one might say, the age of stimuli kills feeling. When you feel too much, eventually, you feel nothing. It's no contradiction. It's a defense. To survive, you shut yourself down, like an overheated machine. You disconnect, not consciously, but inevitably. And so the river of feeling turns into a smooth, cold surface, still and strange. Because deep in your heart, something is screaming, but no one hears it, not even you. You move through life as if through an exhibition of masks, competent at work, polite in private, entertaining online, and inwardly absent. Kierkegaard once wrote, "Man is spirit. And what is spirit? Spirit is the self." But what if you've never truly discovered yourself? Never asked who you are, beyond roles, beyond expectations, beyond function? Then life becomes a stage, and you, the actor in the slow collapse of your own being. Because every time you do something that doesn't come from within, but from fear, pressure, or habit, a small part of you dies. Not loudly, not visibly, but deeply felt. And slowly, your life becomes a life not your own. One you live only because you've forgotten what it means to truly live. Kierkegaard called this the state of despairing self-avoidance, a life turned outward, a constant turning away from your own soul. And the longer you avoid yourself, the emptier you become. Until one day, you feel nothing at all. Not because you are cold, but because you are lost. There is a pain deeper than all tears. A pain so quiet, it no longer shows itself, only through its absence. But sometimes, rarely, a moment comes. A still moment, a glance in the mirror, a sentence that strikes you, and something stirs. Not loudly, not clearly, but it stirs, like a light forgotten beneath too many blankets. Kierkegaard would have said, "This is where true despair begins." Because in that moment, you feel that life could be different, that you are deeper than your routine, that you have a self beneath all the layers, and that it suffers because you keep ignoring it. Man, said Kierkegaard, only becomes truly himself when he faces the truth. Not the truth of the world, but the truth of his own being. For Kierkegaard, truth is subjectivity. It happens when you stop deceiving yourself, when you cease to be a spectator of your life and begin to inhabit yourself. It is the truth that you could live differently, that you are deeper than your routine, that within you a self is waiting, beneath all the roles, beneath all the silence, and that it suffers if you go on ignoring it. This truth requires no theory. It requires courage. The courage to stop hiding behind what merely works, and to become what has been calling you from within. But how do you return to yourself when you can barely feel yourself? Not through outward answers, not through new roles, but through a quiet, courageous step, the turn inward. Kierkegaard calls this movement inwardness, a path that does not begin in the mind, but in honesty. What do you truly feel when nothing distracts you? What remains when you no longer need to prove yourself? Kierkegaard says, the first step is recognizing your despair. Not to judge yourself, but to finally be honest. You don't need to be perfect, but you must be real. And that means, first, endure the silence. Do not run. Do not scroll. Just sit with what is. That is how the return begins. Second, take responsibility, not for what happened to you, but for what you choose to make of it. Kierkegaard speaks of a leap out of self-avoidance and into what is your own. No guarantees, no proofs, only the trust that something within you is real and worthy of being lived. Third, learn to be alone. Not lonely, but alone with yourself. For the true self, Kierkegaard writes, is not found in applause, but in the depth of solitude. There begins the conversation with the eternal, and emptiness becomes meaning. You may have to leave habits behind, people, certainties. You may doubt, stumble, weep alone. But it is exactly there, in the uncertain, that truth begins. Not the truth of the world, but your truth. And the closer you come to it, the more you will begin to feel. You are not empty. You are not dead. You were just absent from yourself for too long.